Hi, and thank you for joining us at Tax Talk UK, where we talk about all things tax and consider other important aspects of working for yourself and being self-employed, running a small business. So today we're going to look at a scenario for private landlords where a private landlord is themselves carrying out some, say, maintenance on the property. And the question being, can they claim anything for that work that they're doing? So before we talk about that, if I could please ask you to take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you'll easily be able to refer back to this information if you should wish to, as well as being able to find other information that we have available on a whole wide range of topics, all catalogued in our playlist. So if you're watching this video, then I would assume you to be a private landlord or interested in that topic. So if you look for the playlist for private landlords, you will find the other topics that we have available to support you in your business. So back then to what can you claim if you've carried out work yourself? So in this scenario, we're talking about a private landlord, for example, who something breaks at the property and they fix it themselves rather than engaging the services of a handyman, therefore, of course, saving cost for the business. And the question that we're asked is, can you claim the expense still, even though you haven't paid the handyman? Can you claim can you charge the rental business yourself? I guess is the summary of the question, and it's the answer's not straightforward, and I do like to explain the answer, because if I simply say, no, not really, or no, it won't help you, then people are a little bit vexed that they've carried out this work and they feel that they're not compensated for it. So I like to fully explore the answer to this question, which is a common question to be asked. So you're not the only person that's thinking about this. So the thing to remember is, regardless of whether you're employed, you're self-employed, or you don't work at all, if you are a private landlord as well, and you something breaks in the property, for example, and you go and purchase the replacement part, and then you go to the property yourself rather than engaging a handyman. Let's say, for example, that the handyman that would have charged you £100 to go and make this repair, and let's say, for example, that the part cost £20. So of course the actual part that you've purchased is a physical cost, and that is fully allowable against your rental income. There's no question about that. But we're actually talking about the time of your time going to fit that and saving your rental business the cost of the handyman. So of course, if you choose to charge your rental business, then you yourself have now got £100 worth of income. So yes, you may have created an expense of £100 for your rental business, but for yourself, you've now incurred yourself £100 of income, which is taxable. So really all you're doing is moving from one source of income to the other, but what's saved on one is offset by what's liable now on the other. So that is the answer of why you can't claim in effect for work that you've done yourself. But of course, as I mentioned before, any parts that you've had to buy, you can still claim those. That's still a physical cost. If you use your own vehicle to travel to the property, or if you travel by public transport, you can still claim either the public transport cost or mileage for your trip to the property, and to collect the part. Of course, that's legitimate because you've incurred that cost. Although it will be not a set, I've paid out this amount that exactly matches the mileage, because of course claiming mileage is just a way of simplifying the cost, but you still incurred costs in your vehicle to go to do that. So that's still absolutely fine to claim that as a cost and as an expense against your rental income. But going back to the actual your labour, as it were, then by claiming by incurring that as an expense on the business, you're then incurring that as income for yourself. So hopefully then it makes sense why we don't claim for that. And of course people then feel a little bit aggrieved that well, of course, if you are though doing the work yourself rather than paying a handyman, then of course you still have that £100 in your pocket, as opposed to have given it to the handyman. Now, if you'd have engaged the services of the handyman and paid them the £100, then of course you would have been able to claim that as an expense, because it's a physical cost that you spend. And yes, then that would have saved you, depending on your tax rate, 20% standard rate would have saved you £20 of tax, and at 40% at a high rate would have saved you £40 of tax. But you still would have been down by the £60 or the £80, i.e. the amount you'd given the handyman less the tax that you'd saved on that. So ultimately you are still better off to carry out the maintenance yourself in this scenario, where obviously you're fully qualified to do whatever the maintenance task is that you want to do. So you still have benefited from the fact that you've carried out the maintenance yourself, just not in a tax way, but you still financially are better off for having carried out that maintenance yourself. And as I mentioned before, of course, any physical costs, so any parts that you need to spend, the mileage or transport getting there is still allowable expense. It's just we're only actually talking about your time, and hopefully that explains more. And now you understand why it's not there's no benefit to you in claiming anything for your own time and labor. Of course, if your scenario is a little bit more complex, or if you feel that even taking this into account, there is a tax benefit, because of course in more complex scenarios there will be scenarios where you still would want to do this, then you should fully consider those. And if you're not certain yourself, then you should take professional advice. So I hope that this helps to explain. And if you have found this information useful, please do take a moment to like the video. That helps us to understand which topics are proving the most useful for our viewers. Thank you very much. Goodbye.